Thank you for tuning in. My name is Dr. Raquel Leah. I am your host. And our sponsor for the next 9 episodes of Day Diary is the BGC series, Breaking Generational Curses When Child Protective Services Takes Your Children. So what we've done in our strategic planning is we've moved some of those funds around. We had a spurt. I mentioned in some other episodes that people were listening and responding. And so we had a spurt, I like to call it, in sales with some of our books. You can go to Amazon and put in Dr. Raquel Leah Robertson. Look on the host page to see the correct spelling of my name. And just as Arthur, I played around a lot with how I wanted to phrase my name because there's a lot of Raquel Robertsons and Rachel Robertsons and Rachel Leah Robertsons and Raquel Leah Robertsons. I mean, Robertson is not even my last name now. However, I use that because it's easier for you to find the books. So the books kind of saw an uptick in sales where we were able to manage some things and open up some course material and do some things with and our budgeting. So these next 9 episodes are sponsored by the BGC series. Go to the website sidfund.org. That's sidfund.org. And every book that you purchase, and we'll make some specials and some sales at some time, but don't feel bad about purchasing full price because you should feel great in knowing that all of our proceeds go to funding. I don't pocket anything. And so the price is set as it's set, and it's not going to go on sale unless I run a special or unless the planning team says, hey, it's in our best interest to do that. But we have to be cognizant that we can't bring you episodes, that we can't then do other things. Like when we start the TV show in 2020 that we're strategically planning, we cannot bring you those things if we're always running specials. So it is a little costly, it is a little pricey, but we're talking about parent-child relationships, and we're talking about impacting your generations. We want to be a part of that. And we want you to be a part of our team. So go online under Amazon. The books are everywhere. It's the Breaking Generational Curses series. Breaking Generational Curses When Child Protective Services Takes Your Children. That's the book that was on the Globe and Mail bestsellers list in Canada. And then it did some best-selling in Australia. I have no idea at this point why it never made the bestsellers list on the New York Times. I don't know, but we'll do some analytics and figure that kind of thing out. So as we move forward, we want to look at something that I call just disruptive actions and disruptive behavior. Now, we all know what that is. It's people acting out. And with there is a lack of self-control, and I'm not going to get on a bandwagon about telling adults how to act. There is a luxury of anonymity that the computers give us. We feel as though, as Americans, first of all, we think that we're the best at everything. That's the attitude amicably around that. We're the best country, we're the best this, and we're the best that, even though we're in the Donald Trump administration, and I won't even comment on it. What I will say is that he's not the first, the last, or the only. So I'm not taking sides, but I'm being critical of our administrations and our country in that we're not the best policies and procedures of anything. We're good at some things that we do. In that, we don't take responsibility for as Americans, for our disruptive behavior. We have a liberty and a culture that we can be as disruptive as we want, and that's just not true. Because it impacts relationships. It impacts how we perform at work. It impacts our social society network. And it impacts our family's last name and how those families merge into other families and all kind of dialectics and dynamics. Disruptive behavior and disruptive talk will lead you to a place and a space. I am an advocate for disruptive talk. I am. Sometimes I think it's good to put fear in someone else because now I have fear. And so instead of backing down, I do a little pushback. And I might say, hey, this will be a good time for you to back up. And people may take that as a disruptive approach. Well, disruptive approaches when we're dealing with our children, we have to be mindful of those. Remember a couple of episodes ago, I talked about interaction therapy and how you have to be mindful of moving forward. So in our communication and our behavior, we have to keep in mind, not if we think that we're doing something disruptive, if our communication style to others is received as disruptive. We'll have more on this topic in our next episode. Thank you so much for listening. I am Dr. Raquel Leah, your host of Healthy Families First.
So this is where our journey must end. And saying good evening and goodbye to you today does not mean that you don't get another opportunity to impact your generations, legislation, and effective change in your kinship and relationship with your child or your children. And as always, the vision of our broadcast is incomplex, that you consider, catch, check out, and cradle simple approaches to parenting and communication. And we are here to help support. And in kind, your generosity helps parents' liberties and freedoms from constraint to guide and parent their children and grandchildren in safe and healthy places. Won't you become a patron today? Visit our supporters page at patreon.com as a nonprofit doing the most Healthy Families First. The Breaking Generational Curses series and Healthy Families First is promoting healthy parent-child relationships when there is a kinship split. No communication, no awareness, no occasional meetings, no nothing. And our intent is an information hub for parents to approach healing and recovery in safe spaces. Our broadcast will be featured in 47 countries and all USA podcast panels. Stay tuned for an open call to beta testers, listeners, signups, and support. And again, thank you for listening. Visit CIDFUND.org. That's sidfund.org.